And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live today. Deb Goldberg and I are here with the beautiful Rebecaa Abraxas. And unfortunately, our Dr. Ruth is a little under the weather. We're asking all of you to please keep her in your prayers and let's get her health back up there again so we can all have her beautiful energy. Rebecaa, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. And just sending Ruth some healing Reiki prayers right now.
Yes, absolutely. And Deb, my cohort, would you like to say hello? And Deb is also going to lead us in our intention for today.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you today. Unfortunately, it's because of Dr. Ruth not feeling well, but we're going to do some things with Rebecaa later and send her some good vibes and everyone else. So I want to start off with our intention today. Terry made is just beautiful. Let's take a breath. Our intention today is that we may harmonize body, mind, and spirit to bring balance into our lives. May our joy song be expressed in our essence as it touches all who hear it. May love be the melody we sing. As we walk, may we feel the spring in our step, fueled by Divine Mother, connecting us to the earth's crystalline center. May we find gratitude in every now moment and let it shine forth into our circle of oneness. For those of us that are parents, may we seek guidance from the spiritual divinity to best know how to raise our children as we model for them divine love. Beautiful.
And so it is. Okay, well, I'm going to share the video. If you're watching on the live and you have questions or comments you want to give, please put those in and we will be looking at those after the live ends. Thank you for being here. Just a moment.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ruth Anderson, here with Enlightened World Network. Welcome to this episode of Enlightened Women. Grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage, settle in, and join us. Enlightened Women is a show about women who are consciously awake and choosing to fully embrace life. These are real women living real lives while walking in spirit. Our guest today is Rebecaa Abraxas. She is a Reiki master, wellness practitioner, and vocal sound healer. This women's series is the brainchild of Archangel Michael. The speakers and the topics have been presented to me during prayerful meditation. My job is to show up and allow the inspired content to flow. Today, Archangel Michael asked in particular for this series to focus on dealing with emotions and love-based parenting. So Rebecaa, welcome to the show and thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So Rebecaa, we talk about bringing body, mind, and spirit together to fully stand in our strength. But a lot of times we kind of forget about the importance of the emotional aspect of ourselves. So I know for me, I was raised by two parents that were very stoic and rarely showed emotions. The one emotion I got from my father was anger. Mm-hmm. He was either flatlined or angry. And my mother was mostly just flat. She really didn't share emotions. And as one of four children, we were encouraged to not really have big shows of emotion either. One of her favorite sayings was, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me." And she would have us recite that so our feelings wouldn't get hurt. from something that somebody said. Now, I appreciate the idea behind that, but in their attempts to corral our emotions, I think so they didn't have to deal with them. We all learned how to not have emotions. And what I have realized over the years is as I have squelched anger and hurt emotions, I have also squelched joy.
Yeah.
And I just don't think we can cut off part of the range of emotions and keep all of the good parts. So have you lived a life of enjoying the entire range of emotions?
I would say so. I grew up with parents that were very free spirits among a very even keel community. In our house, we had a whole rainbow of emotion, sometimes to the point of default, because the ecstatic joy and love we were able to feel as a family kind of catapulted to the other end, to the intense or like rage and anger and grief and depression that could also happen. And so me and my siblings learned all of that range, that rainbow of color. And to this day, I can really appreciate it now. But living in that was actually kind of hard for me as a very sensitive being. I was the grounded one. I was the even keel one. I would ask my mother at like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, "Can I please go to bed?" It was just like kind of my body and being's wisdom to be like, we've had enough holding all this range of dynamic emotion and energy. So for me at times it was a little exhausting. So that was an interesting thing, is learning how to be the expression of the emotion without being the distraction of the emotion, which I find very helpful through all areas of like parenting and emotions, and where emotions come out is like, how do we be aware of our emotions, but how do we not let them distract us and become them, which has been a huge walk of mine with parenting and just anything in my life. A lot of what I've done through the years is developed a very strong witness of myself. So that peeling away and kind of looking at yourself, it's a really powerful thing to do when you can pull yourself away and start to realize that, oh, there's emotion happening, but I'm not the emotion. So it's kind of like a witnessing of yourself experiencing something but not being it. It's a really important distinction I've made early on in life. I follow the work of Abraham Hicks, and there's a lovely model called the Emotional Guidance Scale, and it's 22 emotions. And she talks about it's fine to feel them all. You just go up and down, like the top one, number one being ecstasy, joy, the bottom being disempowerment and grief. And they all have a different frequency, and we play among them in our human experience. And I use this a lot. And so say you're feeling disempowered, going to anger feels like it would be a negative response. Anger, a lot of people that are afraid of anger think that it's so negative and it's not okay to go there, kind of thing. But you know what? Sometimes we need to go to anger to get a little bit of power, to get a little bit of movement energy. So we go from grief to anger, and then maybe to anger, to blame, to shame, to discontent, to hope. And it just kind of goes up. And the idea of that is that we're always moving. And so the way I see emotions is that it's just an energy, and we want to be eventually going back into our state of expansion with spirit. So it's like that joy, that sense of just beingness. It's like a neutral joy almost. And that's our nature, right? So it's like when we kind of go to the different emotions, lower frequency emotions, no big deal. It's just kind of like a sign that's telling us, hey, like, look where you are.
So you mentioned the term lower frequency emotions. So for our folks listening that are new to the ideas of frequencies of energy, can you describe lower frequency emotions?
Sure. And it's not meaning like lower, like you're bad for having that emotion. It just means that everything in this existence has a vibration. And it's a fast vibration or it's a slower vibration. And these bodies we have You know, they're denser, they're dense, and it's a slower vibration. So a lower frequency would have the way I see it, have a denser, it's denser and it has a slower frequency. The ecstasy or the joy or that neutral, like source energy emotion, like it's not even emotion because it's just what we are, has kind of a lighter frequency, a faster frequency. So on that scale, the way I see it from 1 to 22, it's just a frequency chart of how fast we're vibrating. My 15-year-old lately is really, there's some anger. There's some like, what is he doing? He's just being completely defiant and stuff. And my control stuff is coming up. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I have absolutely no control of what he's doing. There's so much surrendering I have to be doing. But I get angry or I get exasperated, like I just don't, or completely overwhelmed. And so as I go to those things, my vibration slows down. It's a contraction. And so the vibration slows down and I can feel it. And it doesn't feel good. You know, when you're used to living in an expanded higher frequency, it doesn't feel good. And that's what's beautiful about this frequency model is you can say, this doesn't feel good. I'd like to feel lighter. I'd like to feel happier. I'd like to feel expanded. I'd like to feel inspired. That contrast helps us say, oh, this is where I'm at. And it's a little denser, it's contracted, it's contracting into like a denser form. And that contraction, and some people sometimes are really used to living from that contracted kind of that frequency. So it's almost like a comfort zone, especially if we grow up in like a family that's kind of like a lower frequency and denser. So like going to joy feels really uncomfortable. It's like you get used to just vibrational patterns. When I say high and low, it's just, it's just where do you want to go in your life? Where do you feel called to expand and awaken to? Maybe if you've lived from one space on, in an emotional vibration, and this lifetime you're going to expand a few up to just positivity. And that's your walk this lifetime. So there's no judgment of higher or lower. We're all on this. What the Bhagavad Gita has shown me is that every single person, human being, is on a trajectory of awakening. But we've started at different points. And so wherever we are, that's where we are and that's where we play. And it's all different frequencies.
Rebecaa, I'm reminded of when I was 30 and I made a life choice of marrying at 20, which I don't recommend necessarily. When I was 30, I left the relationship knowing that was what was in my best interest. But the emotions that I went through, going through a divorce, and having never processed emotions, only stuffing them, there were days, the best I could do was to lie in a fetal position and cry. That was the best I could do. And I resisted the depth of the emotions that I was feeling. I was afraid of them, didn't know what to do with them, didn't know how to get out of them. But I think that resistance then caused its own struggle. So now I was having the emotions and then I was struggling with the resistance of the emotions. And I remember I was a teacher at the time and I lived in LA and I had a 30-minute drive to school and I would wake up and I'd cry the entire way to school. I'd stop crying while I worked with my kids, and as soon as the bell rang, I was crying again and I would cry the whole way home. And I would find solace in a warm bathtub. And I remember the day I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, you are really hurting. This is really hard. And at that moment, I looked at myself and I accepted myself for what I was going through. But what I'm hearing you say is that resisting whatever level of emotional frequency we're at, that causes its own issues too.
Oh yeah, like the resistance is what creates the pain in anything, right? I remember 2 instances with my dad when he left when my parents got divorced when I was 12, and also when he left the planet 4 years ago out of his body. But there comes to a point I had no control over the situation. I just wanted him back on both situations. And it was so much pain. As a little girl, I just cried and had tantrums. Like, I just was so mad. But as a grown woman 4 years ago, what I noticed was I was nervous to actually just feel it. Part of me was just like, I got to work. I got kids to raise. I got stuff to do. But I got to feel this. I know I need to process these emotions. So what happened was I let go of the resistance and I would cry and blubber. And it actually only lasted like maybe 10 to 20 minutes. And I was nervous to go there because I was nervous it was going to take my whole day and going to just floor me for the whole week. What I noticed is when I was willing to do what you did, I was just like, I am hurting. I need to flow this. I have to let this wave come through. When I did, it lasted 10 to 20 minutes. I picked myself up, wiped my eyes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm done for now. And I was completely functional. Well, what's interesting is that you picked parenting for me, is that I actually went into my marriage and having my first son with the knowledge that I'm walking pregnant 6 months later. Like, it was like boom, boom. And when you ask something of spirit, sometimes it's not going to be the easiest road because it's growing and evolving our souls. There's been many a time that I've looked on and compared, which is not a great thing to do, but why do they have it so easy? Why are their kids so much easier? And it came to me last year. I was like, oh my gosh, I asked for this. I asked for spirit to give me a life that would grow me, that would evolve me spiritually. And it gave me this family. And wow, has it ever?
Okay, so you mentioned in your parenting that you were vibrating at a higher emotional frequency, and then your son comes in at a lower frequency. And through the process of connecting with him, you actually ended up sort of matching his frequency.
Yeah.
How often do you think we unconsciously tend to gravitate to the emotional frequency of somebody that we're connecting with?
That is a really, really good question. I think it happens so automatically. I think it happens so much. Like the pain, Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body, and that would be these kind of different frequencies and that we've been raised in, that we've marinated, and that the collective consciousness is in. It's called the pain body, and it's a very seductive place. And where I go with my son, I can be totally, just coming out of my Reiki meditation, and all of a sudden, boom, gosh, he just says awful things. He's just like really can just switch around and just like, I don't know if I'm brought back into like an old pain body from my past with my upbringing, or if I'm triggered into have an expectation of how I want to parent, how I want him to be. I've had to face that a lot. I come from a lot of substance abuse. I have a father that was an alcoholic, and I've had tons of talks with my son about this, and he's experimenting, and it is bringing up so much trauma for me. And so here I am all light and woohoo, feeling good. And then boom, I'm brought back. So I think just being strong in some kind of personal practice that we can go there and face the shadows, and then know how that doesn't have, again, we don't not resist it, but like, then we know how to rise up again. And I think that's my walk with spirit is what I've noticed over the years. The time in between is getting shorter. I can just be pummeled and brought to my knees and face this and look at it, and then I can get back to a state of joy again. So that whereas my 20s would rock my life for days or months, or even honestly, what I have to say is like Holy Fire Reiki, walking with Holy Fire Reiki the 4 years has really helped me to decrease that time between really facing some old stuff and then being able to expand back out again. Even before Reiki, even walking a lot of just different spiritual paths, I would be depressed for a month. I would be incapacitated. There's something about, for me, connecting with Holy Fire Reiki every day that's helped me really decrease that time between being brought to my knees and expanding back out. And I'd love to get to the point where I'm not brought to my knees and just be in that state. I don't know if that's going to happen this lifetime.
I have really thought since I became a parent that parenting is really not for the faint of heart. To really consciously parent out of a love-based place, it's hard. I chose deliberately to become a parent. For a lot of folks, it just happens and then they deal with it. I was in my 40s and never wanted to birth my own DNA. That was never an issue for me. So I decided to adopt. And feeling the responsibility of raising someone else's children brought on its own whole thing. But I tried to be a conscious parent in my interactions and in the actions that I take. And I loved it when you said you wish that you didn't have those times, that you were brought to your knees, that you wish that you could just stay at that higher vibrational frequency of la and ah. But I can tell you, my largest growth as a parent came from those times that I was on my knees, that I was questioning everything that I thought I understood as a spiritual being, because my daughter, God bless her, was giving me opportunities to grow.
Yep.
One of the biggest learnings that I had along those lines was a 3-day tumultuous ordeal, mostly of me questioning myself, my belief system, what I thought I needed to be as far as being a good parent. I mean, she literally obliterated everything that I thought I was supposed to be. But at the end of that, our relationship blossomed in ways I never could have imagined.
Wow, beautiful.
So I'm actually thankful for that time. And I'm also thankful that she hasn't continued to do those kinds of things to make me have to really hone this skill that I've learned.
Oh yeah, for sure. We are not at that stage yet, and where we are at though is learning how to, I don't know how old your daughter is, but my 15-year-old, I'm really learning how to step back and let go, where I feel like his whole being is asking for that, what he's giving out to us. I'm just like, wow, I have to step back. I've been a very present mother, maybe helicopter, I don't know. But I've also given them a lot of choice. My whole belief system about parenting and stuff like that, I think has given them a lot of voice and choice in their lives. And that is not the easiest to parent in the teen years. But what I am noticing from his behavior, it's telling me something. I was like, I think I have to back off. I think I have to let him go. I have to let go of the reins. And that's what the present moment is showing me right now. And it's bringing up a lot of emotion for me, that there's a certain phase of our lives it's complete. It's coming up right now. Just hitting on something right now. Just feeling the tears flow. There's a letting go. He's becoming his adult self, and he's going to make choices that I wouldn't have made in my life. I'm going to have to witness him and unconditionally love him no matter what. It's challenging, but it's a beautiful thing. So what I'm learning is to back away and let go and give him space while still holding some important boundaries. So it's a really tricky thing. I'm learning a lot, but it brings up emotion for me when I think about it. We've been very close through the years, just watching him push away. It's painful.
I have a 15 and a 17-year-old.
Okay, you know.
So I know. I do know. Yes. Yeah. So as a spiritual being coming into this body, we set up what we're going to learn in this lifetime.
Yeah.
And when we're fortunate, we can understand, we get to know what it is that we're learning this lifetime. Have you looked at your son as a spiritual being and tried to figure out what it is that he's learning in this lifetime and what your role in that is?
Yeah, I really have. I really sense him as a very wise soul. I find him to be a very advanced soul. He's a very advanced being. He has the point of view that let's play in these bodies and I'm going to play as hard as I want and then let it go and I can always come back in another body. He's like very like that, you know, he's not attached. I get that philosophy. I probably talked to him about that philosophy and he was like, yeah, I get that. I feel like he's really here to show us the possibilities of embodiment and to let go of fear. And my path in my human embodiment is that I have been a very fearful person. I've been a very like consistent person and grounded. And it's just recently that I've been able to up my level of surrender and trust to spirit, which really has helped my fear factor. But I definitely walk in fear in this life. And it's like, it's funny to me because I'm like, I'm such a spiritual person. I rest in spirit all the time. Like, why would I have all this fear, right? It seems like a conundrum to me, but I definitely look at it all the time. And he is totally giving me that reflection of like, do we really need fear, Mom? Like, what is that? And so it's really is a beautiful contribution to each other. Not comfortable, that's for sure.
My daughter, both of them are definitely teaching me things.
Yeah.
I fully know that they are soul sisters of mine.
Yeah.
So I had to go to China to connect with them. It's just fascinating how we're in each other's lives. So I know that my daughters are two of my biggest teachers, and your son is teaching you about fear.
Mm-hmm.
My daughters are teaching me how important relationship is and staying in relationship and not allowing my hurt feelings to create distance. So there are times when things are feeling just really angstful with one of my daughters, and it changes which one it is, right? And then my tendency is to protect myself and pull back a little bit and feel a little hurt and want to stay in the hurt. And my daughters don't let me do that, which I love because they are making me grow. And I so appreciate that role that they're playing in my life.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's beautiful. I think that's the blessing of these newer beings coming to the earth, just showing us that we aren't those emotions. We aren't those hurts. We can go past them. It doesn't have to be a long process of being with that. We can open back up quickly. That's what both my sons are showing me, like that opening back up quickly and not letting that story or that hurt be the driving force of our lives. Letting spirit be the driving force.
Talk about having spirit be a driving force. I will admit here freely that there have been times that I have called on Archangel Michael in particular to let me know if my daughters are safe. So I remember one night in particular, one of my daughters was spending the night at a friend's house, and I don't really know that friend that well. I've never seen the home. I don't know the parents. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up and I thought, holy cow, is she safe? Is she okay? And I wasn't going to call her. I wasn't going to, although I wanted to. I wasn't going to. And I thought, I'm just going to ask Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
Is she safe? And so because I can hear him and ask questions and get answers, I did. I asked if she was safe and I got yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to just relax and go back to sleep. But as someone who is connected with spirit, has that helped you in your parenting?
It definitely has, and it definitely doesn't work all the time because it's like a process for me, you know, just in longevity here of how much am I going to surrender and just really trust. Sometimes I'm so worked up, sitting down and just being frank here, like when our emotions are taking us, hearing spirits whispers, it's hard. So for people that are watching, it's not super easy. It's definitely a practice. And that's why I do practice with Reiki and do meditation every day and try to work on 2 times a day, because it helps us listen to that whisper. listen to that, because our emotions and our egoic sense and our personalities are way bigger. They have louder voices. So I really practice that listening, like you're talking about. And at times it does give me like a rest. And that's really where I am with this parenting, of just like letting spirit flow through me to trust that their awareness and that spirit has their back, and that they're going to be okay. Even if it doesn't look okay, even if I wind up in the hospital with them that night, or even if they're in the jail cell that night, like, what if it's okay? What if it's not mine to judge, And I'm working on that, to letting them go, have their life, whatever that looks like. So pray every day to like have more strength to allow them to have their own life's awareness and have their own connection with spirit, whatever that looks like. And so I'm working on that. And I'm working on, like, if I wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's like, are they okay? Like, to have the calm enough to just sit with Reiki and just be like, all right, all is well, whatever that looks like. So I'm definitely working on that. I think that's my path with family life right now, parenting.
And I have also asked for angels to be with them, just keep them safe.
Yep.
I remember one day in particular, we had received the dreaded text message from the school that it's, a lockdown, and that there was someone perhaps in the building, and fear takes over. And the only thing I could control was my asking spirit to please send angels to protect not only my children, but the other children as well. So asking, through prayer or intercession for spiritual support and guidance.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I drop my kids off at school, and I Reiki their school every single day. They walk past me, walk out the door, out the car door, and I'm Reikiing their school. It just gives me a peace of mind knowing that life's here. We're here on these planets to have contrast. It's the yucky stuff that gives us contrast to bounce up from, to want to rise above, right? We're here to experience all of it. If I send prayers, send Reiki, and all of it's in a Reiki bubble, and something still like, maybe unwanted happens, I don't want it to happen, but I don't know the larger picture, right? So it's like that perspective really helps me a lot. I've just recently lost a friend who was 19 from brain cancer, and just seeing like all these different young people going through such hard things, or early death, a lot of suicide. The way I keep sane with it all is just being like, I don't know spirit's bigger picture. I don't know. Sometimes a long life isn't necessarily the good life. We're not all here to be 100 years old. The planet can't even support that. The one thing that helps me get through, even with my sons too, because some of the stuff that's been going on in our house, is just knowing that they may not live to 100 years old. They may be here just to have a short, sweet thing. And I actually, as a parent, this sounds morbid, but I actually prepare myself for it, because it would be shocking if I didn't. I'm not going to pretend that he's supposed to live to like 90 or 100. I'm going to just have the reality that this kid goes all out, and the reality is we all could just die tomorrow. So it's like, I keep that perspective. I do a lot of work with death and dying, and it really helps me live really in the present moment with everyone in my life, and just have that perspective. They're a gift, and they could go tomorrow. They could go in 5 years. And that's just the way it is sometimes. Spirit has a different agenda than mine.
And I so appreciate that perspective. And as a parent, I do that as well. Mm-hmm. That if something happens today and we don't see each other tonight because of some horrific life experience or life happening, my daughters will know that they are loved. And that is the most important thing to me in my relationship with them, that even if we're in the middle of a squabble or something, my relationship to them is paramount, and I love them dearly.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so important.
Rebecaa, thank you for sharing from the heart about your family and about what life is like for you in your household right now, and knowing that you are so not alone in that experience.
Yeah, that's important for all us moms to know. We are not alone in this, for sure.
If folks want to follow you or learn more about you, Rebecaa, how do they get that information?
Well, you can just go to RebecaAbraxas.com. That's my website. I also am very active on Facebook, and I have several Facebook pages. Rebecaas Abraxas at Reiki and Voice, and also Rebecaas Abraxas Voice Coaching.
Great. Rebecaa, thank you so, so much for being
Oh, you're welcome. It's been an honor. Thank you so much, Ruth.
Rebecaa, oh my gosh, there was so much in that talk. There were
I realized
so
I got
many.
really fast.
Oh no, there were so many wonderful, wonderful nuggets, and I know that we had a lot of comments on the Facebook Live, and oh my gosh, I was just touched by so many of the areas that you talked about, and that very last conversation with you and Dr. Ruth about your perspective on death and loss, and it really it touched me in a huge way. You know, I just recently found your YouTube station, your YouTube videos, and you played one raw, and I shared it in the group, in the Enlightened World Summit group.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know. See, this is how spirit works. It's like the angels go ahead of us. I didn't know that I would be dealing with hearing about a loss today. But there was a reason for me hearing you singing that beautiful song, and now listening to your perspective about loss and death. And yeah, I've helped people through a lot of the grief process. But when it touches us personally, you know, it's like so monumental. And sometimes it's like you were talking about in the beginning, you know, you have to step away and watch those emotions and before you can really get into them and process exactly what that's all about. So I just want to thank you for so many perspectives that you gave today in this talk. You're amazing. And thank you so much for sharing with us, you know, your raw and beautiful self. I just love you. You know, I've just found you, and I absolutely love you and adore you. So thank you. And I know, Deb, you probably have a lot of questions for her. I'd written down some of the nuggets that she had shared, but I really want to hear from Deb and see what, I know you were following the Facebook conversations as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. No, I was just so happy to hear all the things that you're talking about, because they're so important. And, you know, about feelings, about energy, about resistance, about your kids. And really what it is, what I'm hearing you discuss is, how do you raise a soul, right?
Yeah.
How do you raise a soul? And it's not easy, you know, when you really switch from how do I parent from higher consciousness. And it's so beautiful to hear you show how you're going through the process of trying to let go and hold boundaries at the same time. And it is such walking a line, a difficult line.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's something that we all need to hear, because, you know, I have grandchildren now. So, you know, I start looking at, okay, how do I start looking at things different? I didn't have the awareness when I was raising kids. I wasn't awake yet. And so now being awake for my grandchildren is totally different. But I did have a question for you. You were talking about, you know, feeling your feelings, and like Ruth was talking, my household growing up was just bombarded with anger and craziness, and I would get caught up in that energy, but then shut down, and I spent the rest of my life like not getting angry. It didn't feel good. I did everything I could to not feel those things. But what do we do when we're at work and we get triggered, or you're amongst a bunch of people in a place and you're not at home where you could just go whatever, you know, do whatever in your room. what do people do when you find yourself getting triggered and all of these emotions are coming? Because we've all learned to behave, and we can't just say what we feel, or we can't act out, or we can't let ourselves emote. What do you say to that?
Well, the first thing I want to just say is that, like, you know, when we have a personal practice, it's like, whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, it starts to give us a somatic response, a body response, an emotional. So like when we do have those trigger moments, like at dinner or at the rest at work, we almost can go back and get resourced from that moment, because like from the moment of that personal practice that happens every day, that lives in our system, that's there with us all the time. So there's that. And I think that personal practice really sources us throughout the day. And the other thing is like just the breath, that when I talked about peeling away and developing the witness in those moments, sometimes if we can just have a moment pause with the anger, with that feeling, just a moment of space, and just take a breath, we can respond instead of react. And then there's also reactivity that sometimes is a potency. So I've studied a body of work called Access Consciousness, and they talk about anger being one. It can be a distractive element, meaning like it's basically a beacon saying like, where are you in relationship to your infinite beingness or source? And it just helps show us where we're getting kind of distracted. But anger can also be a potency that's required, because sometimes anger is a voice, one that needs to, like in that model that I showed you guys with the emotional guidance system, that energy has to be moved to the next frequency, So it might be the potency that's required to move the energy in the room. And so to do that effectively, we do have to have a witness body too, and not be attached to the anger, so that we can actually be like, no, and then be like, okay, next. And my dad was really brilliant at that. He was really good at, he worked with dysfunctional teens, and he worked at this group home and stuff like that. And that had really dysfunctional families and stuff. And he had to sometimes bring the potency of like this, anger out, but then he wasn't attached to it and can like step back and be like, okay, guys, you're still loved. Hey, so I hope whatever I said there could kind of fit into a little bit about what you're asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, the other part of this is, I feel like you're giving people permission to feel. Because I grew up not having permission to feel. And that has been part of my journey, is all I did is keep stuffing. So having permission to feel whatever your feelings are, and even though I hear it and I know it, doing it is a whole nother thing.
Yeah, because you grew up, you've been marinating in a place of like, it was a strategy in your family to kind of do this. And any strategy that we buy into is some work to kind of let go of, right? It's awareness and consciousness. We have to bring it up, the subconscious. A lot of the strategies are subconscious, right? So it's like, we've got to bring them up to the conscious level. And sometimes when I work with Reiki, if it's really ready and ripe, like it just goes and doesn't even need to come to the conscious level, that the pattern just leaves. And all of a sudden you're left like, I'm not doing that anymore. When did that happen? But a lot of the times it's brought from the subconscious to the conscious for us to be like, okay, do you need this anymore? How is this working for you? And I've noticed that so many times in my life, where it's just, I actually just had something with my husband come up yesterday, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Wow, where? And then I use Reiki to say, okay, where did this originate from? And we use the distance symbol to kind of go back and play. Where's the origin of this? Where did I say this is a good strategy? And right now in my life, I'm realizing this is outdated. This doesn't work anymore. And it's like So someone with your background, that stuffing, and just be like, you bring it to the conscious and ask a question around it. Is this working for me anymore? I was a brilliant little girl and bought into that strategy, but now I'm this grown woman and I think I'm onto something here. I don't think this works anymore. And you kind of just make that proclamation. And really, with all the tools, I really feel that we learn in spiritual practice, what we're all saying to do is just become aware of something and choose something different in whatever practices or rituals or whatever. It crosses the line, I think. Basically, it's saying, guide and support me to choose something different, because I can. And it really is that simple to say, I'm done. I'm going to choose something different. I'm choosing my greatness. And that doesn't match anymore. That doesn't align.
I love that. Abraham teaches choose a better feeling thought. Yes. So, I'm like Deb, I grew up in a dysfunctional family where I wasn't able to express myself, whether it was joy or anger. We were to be, not seen, not heard in that family. So it took me a long time to realize, I can think a better thought, I can feel a better feeling, and I can express that. So I loved it when I did discover Abraham, and that just really jumped out at me. Choose a better feeling thought. And that turns everything around. It really does.
Yeah. And so you probably are, Terry, familiar with the emotional guidance system, because I follow them a lot too. And that's
Me
the
too.
key to doing it is choose a better feeling thought up the emotional guidance scale. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. When I discovered that as well, it was like, oh, this makes so much sense. I don't have to stay in that low vibration. And the other thing is, to not resist whatever you're feeling. If you're feeling the anger, allow it, honor it, respect it, and show it love. And this is what my guides and my angels have shown me. Show it love instead of resisting, because what you resist persists. So the longer you're going to push that anger or sadness, whatever it may be, the longer it's going to be there for you to learn from. Yeah. So to get that lesson faster, get into the spirit of love and really pour that energy of love into whatever it is you're feeling. And it does heal. Yeah. It really is that healing energy of love that's going to cause you to then move to the better feeling emotion and move up that scale.
I love the way you put that, because a lot of times in my life, I've come across, when working the way I do, is a lot of people like saying you can't bypass your emotions. And it's just like, some people, I think it's a misunderstanding that if you're moving emotions, people think if you're moving emotions, you're bypassing them. And I don't think that's the case. And I think you just spoke to that really beautifully, because it's just like, it's all energy and we have to keep it moving. And it's that resistance. It's when it like does this and we hold there and we stay there for years and we don't move it. It makes us sick. And so moving energy of emotions is not bypassing it. And I think that's a really good distinction to make. And as we move it, we get back to that love, and we know how to bring love to the emotion. And we use it as kind of like a beacon to say, hey, where are you? And hey, we've kind of hit a roadblock here. Like so I think that's just a really good distinction to make. It's moving emotion, the energy of emotions is not bypassing it at all. So.
Awesome. Did you have a question, Terry? I love this conversation. It's just so wonderful. And I think it's so needed.
Yeah, it really is. I've done a lot with healing the emotions. And, whether it's emotions from childhood trauma all the way through things we're going through today. I've been through a lot of traumatic experiences in my life. And it's healing that emotional side of the trauma that's so important. And that brings us to the physical healing even faster. The more we hold on to that anger about being traumatized, or the sadness, I really have a sadness about some of my childhood. And I had to really process that and move past that so that I could be more functional in my daily life. Because if I stay back there, then, it just churns. But pouring love into it, like we just discussed, that's what brings me to a place of acceptance, accepting it rather than resisting even thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I love this conversation as well. And I know there's so much more that we want to talk to you about, but I think that was paramount to get that out there about the emotional guidance scale and how to deal with some of the emotional aspects of what we're going through in this life. There was one thing that you mentioned about, and Ruth even talked to you about it, about wanting those low points to just not happen anymore. And one thing that I learned, I've had a lot of low points in my life. And one thing I learned is that's where we get our biggest lessons, when we're down in the valley. We don't get them up on the mountaintop, like you might imagine the guru sitting there on the mountaintop, meditating. We get the real deep lessons in the valleys. And so I'm grateful for every deep valley that I've gone into, because it brought me to this point that I am right now in my life. But I loved your discussion, and I totally understand not wanting those traumatic incidents to happen. None of us do, but it is where our true lessons are. And I loved your comment about I came here in this lifetime to grow. That was just beautiful and profound.
Thank you.
And so I'm feeling, Rebecaa, that you are just such a beautiful soul, that you're just in a state of allowing and permission to be yourself, and whatever you have to deal with. And that's just what comes through to me, is that that is your soul. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I feel like that's been my life journey, to do that and to assist others to do that. Because it's like I was a very shy little girl and very, just very kind of like, so I think it's been my life journey to find that allowance and to, in my chapter that I wrote for the summit, was about, at the end, it's just, there's a term that came recently, and just being the avatar for spirit, for source. And I really feel like that's been my life's work. And I feel like more and more these days, I'm able to access that beingness, just being the avatar, being the embodiment of source and I've taught a lot of people how to do voice work and how to have a voice by coming into their infinite beingness, their soul work, they're who they really are, which is, not so much their personality and their ego, but just that embodiment of source frequency. And that's been my work for myself. And that's what I teach others too. And when we find that, it's like, it's beyond confidence, it's just beyond trust. It's just beingness. And then you can walk into any room and sing a song or do some spontaneous singing or answer a question, or it's way easier because there's less prep, because just answer, just flow, and it shows up. And it's actually been way less work to live this way because you just show up.
And that's awesome. And that's the message that I keep getting too. Jesus and God just keep telling me that God's in control of everything, and God's in control of you because God is you. And so if you just let God flow and not worry about all the things that you're supposed to be doing, fixing, correcting, that you think you have to do that you don't, it's all being corrected for you. It's all just happening for you if you just let go and let that energy move through you in whatever way it needs to. So that's just a confirmation of what you're talking about.
Totally.
So you mentioned dynamic wellness and brilliant possibilities and being your best self. And I know that you said you do Reiki and voice teaching and sound healing. And so do you want to talk about this, like what it is that you love to do?
Sure. So I started way back when I was like 18 or 19. My mom gave me the book You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hayes. I'm sure you, yeah, it's like an iconic book for the human potential movement. So I got that when I was 19 and I'm now 48. And that just really set the whole groundwork for, going to school for wellness education and just always wanting, there was always something more. At the time, I just was like exploring like Christ consciousness. How do I walk the earth like Christ? And so anyway, long story short, it's just been a long journey of exploring wellness and yoga and Christ consciousness and access consciousness and Reiki and bring that all to the present moment. And this is what I guide people with. It's been very rewarding to do Reiki and voice sessions. What I do is I bring in holy fire Reiki, and then I let the Reiki come through my voice, and I do sound healing and hands-on healing. And I also do some life coaching, and along with it, just to help people do exactly what we're talking about today, is to be that brilliant possibility of embodied source, infinite beingness, whatever you want to call it, Christ consciousness. It's just, how can we walk our days and our lives with that? And kind of, that's what I help people with. But, a lot of people are coming with, they feel stress, or they don't feel confident, or they feel like they want more of a voice, or their body is hurt, or they have cancer. And, all those are, avenues to go in, vehicles to be like, oh, okay, let's get in here and really let's work on, in the kosha model in the yoga therapy. It's just like all of this stems from all our human experience and disease processes and hard times stem from a disconnect from spirit. So basically what I do is help people find that connection again, and kind of let Reiki kind of just clear out the energy blocks of the denser energies, let the human body do its wisdom, and let the soul breathe again, life into the body again. So it's just been beautiful work. And I really love this new chapter, the past 4 years of doing Holy Fire 3 Reiki, and it's sourced my life in so many ways. And I feel like it's really helped me get to this space of allowing that you were talking about. And that's what I do in my practice. And I do it with, whether I'm doing sound healing groups or just doing I perform sometimes with some of my own songs. Like tonight, I'll be doing a farm dinner. I do it with my team. I'm an Arbonne rep, so I do it with my team. Like it's all about, finding our best selves and sharing and contributing to people's lives. So I love what I do, and I love like every aspect, whether it's parenting, Reiki healing, sharing, wellness products, whether it's sound healing, whatever it is. I feel like I'm just showing up as spirit for it. Like, so I can play in any avenue, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I had a huge awakening this winter, after studying the Bhagavad Gita, and that's in my chapter for the summit. And it's a 9-month journey that I came through, and you can read about it there. But it was just like, there was another level of awakening to this allowance, and to that, I almost felt like I was going to leave the planet, because I was just like, I think I was having all these samadhi experiences and stuff. But I feel like all of a sudden I was like, wait, this is a gift. This body, go play, go pick something and play. And that's when my new business, my Arbonne business, came to me, because I was just like, let's go play in a business model. Let's go have fun. Let's just not judge anything. Let's just play in the physical reality of whatever shows up in your life that lights you up. And so that's what I've been following. That's what I've been following with the Reiki and the voice and the dynamic wellness. And I don't know.
It's like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really living your passion.
Uh-huh.
I
and,
am.
and it shows, you know, you
Feel
just
lucky.
shine when you talk about it. I love that.
Thanks.
Now, you said we had talked a little bit about doing a sound healing or Reiki or whatever you want to do to send some love out to Ruth to help her get healthy. And also for everybody watching today, because I know myself that as each day happens in the summit, I feel like things are shaken loose all over the place. You know, old habits, patterns coming up, all kinds of things happening to clear out things that we no longer need anymore. Terry, unless you had any other questions.
No,
Okay.
I'm just really lifted up and in awe of this beautiful conversation we've had here today. And I do have my singing bowl here with me that I'll get us started with just playing a moment of that. And Rebecaa, whatever you feel led to do. Okay.
Great. I think this is
All right.
perfect because it's 12, and I don't know if you all are aware, but it's a Global Peace Day. And what they're doing at 12 o'clock noon at all the time zones, everyone's having a moment of reflection and pause. So it's 12 noon here in
Wonderful.
Colorado.
Wonderful. So let's do that.
Yes.
Let's take that moment. Absolutely. And hopefully my cat Gizmo will cooperate while I just play this for just a moment. And then
Okay.
Rebecaa is going to lead us.
after each sound, when you do a sounding, there's a frequency shift. So you can do that with just your ohms and just be present afterwards and just notice. And your ohm will have a different frequency every day and let you know where you are and where you're going. And just sitting with that awareness every day is just a really simple, beautiful practice that you can take with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel so much higher, so much the vibration lifted. It's wonderful. And I hope everybody else feels the same way that's on with us or watches later when they get a chance. Just so grateful for you and what you're doing to uplift our world.
Well, thank you two beautiful ladies. Just it's been an honor, and just your upliftment and just your beautiful recognition has just lifted me so much higher today. And I'm so grateful for the two of you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you. It's been an honor. And I just wanted to share that during that sound healing, I saw like a legion of angels behind you. They were just all singing with you. It was like, it was all one chorus with them coming through your voice. Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's my prayer that everybody that hears this will be healed, will receive a healing in some manner, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual. And I know that will happen. We're setting that intention for that to happen.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Distant Reiki, so whoever watches
yes.
many times, they can have it.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
It's a gift that keeps giving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rebecca, can you tell people how to get in touch with you, please?
Sure. Pretty easy. Just RebecaAbraxas.com. That's my website. And then also RebecaAbraxas@gmail if you want to email me with any questions or comments. I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram. I have a Brilliant Possibilities group that you're welcome to join with all the stuff that I do and share. My intention is to really like uplift and give lots of different possibilities on that page. I have a Reiki and Voice page. I have a Mom's Wellness page. So I have lots of stuff going on Facebook, or just be my personal friend. Yeah.
Yes, would love to. So thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you to all of you who tuned in today on our Facebook Live. And Dr. Ruth, I know you were watching this, and so happy to feel your energy there. And I really pray for your health. And we're all lifting you up and sending that lovely, wonderful, warm energy your way for improved health immediately.
Yes.
So tomorrow we'll be on with Karen Palmer. I hope that you all will tune in for that. And Sharon Ria will be here with me in the studio as we talk to Karen and get her beautiful energy. Rebecca, it has been an honor and a pleasure. And Deb, I love you so much. Did you have more to say?
Yeah, I wanted to just read a little bit of what people are saying, and to see everybody's just been so supportive. Let me see if there's any questions. There's lots of comments. Ruth is on watching with us. So amazing how often we match our frequencies to the person next to us. When you were talking about energy and somebody being angry. And I did write, all energy wants to harmonize and doesn't care whether it's negative or positive. It just wants to harmonize. And Ruth had said, our soul contracts with our family members are always fascinating. Rebecca, your honesty and vulnerability about needing to let go and trust that our kids are protected by spirit and the soul life contracts will play out no matter how much we want to protect them are so appreciated. We have a lot of watching. Guido is on, very helpful. I'm the mother of a teenage boy. It has pushed us both to learn Reiki. That's awesome. Oh. And Chrissy writes on, and she was commenting that can we take a moment before we react, is really just taking a breath like you had mentioned, is before we react to everything. And Vito also said, I also found the Higgs vibration of emotions chart to be very helpful, so that it helps with all of our emotions and move up one at a time. Linda Dirks is on. Thanks for the concept of potency or force to move the energy. And Ruth, let's see. Vito also commented on permission to feel. And I love how now I can accept anger and even thank it for moving me up from sadness. But I don't need to act out anger or be attached to that either. Staying curious, non-judgmental, and non-attached. Moving our emotions is not bypassing. Brilliant. For me, acceptance is everything I'm feeling is the practice of love. Healing is the practice of love. That's awesome. So we've and Susie pops on and she said the sounds were such a soothing joy. Thank you. So we are, everybody is just really enjoying your interview and conversation and interacting with you and what you're bringing for all of us. So thank you again.
Oh, you're so welcome. I feel so honored to be part of this all. It's really wonderful. It's been wonderful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I hope you'll go on and read some of those comments and all the love that was shown while we were on live. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to see what other people are saying. And I like to go back and just reread them and just get into that energy of love that everybody has shown. We're all together in this. We're all one. So that just brings it more home when we can feel each other's energy.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think I did want to mention is tomorrow's a double decker too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Thank you for remembering that. Yes, Karen Palmer will be on at 1 Eastern time. I believe that's 11 Mountain time. And then later, and I'll be on with Karen and Sharon, Ria, we will do that one. And then later you're going to be on with Carol Cross. And the timing of that one, Deb?
That is at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, which would be 7 o'clock Mountain time.
Okay.
Tomorrow evening. So hopefully Ruth will be feeling better by then.
Yes. Yes. We are going to set that intention that she will be. And so look out, Ruth. The angels are surrounding you.
Yay.
Yes. Well, thank you again, Rebecaa. It has been such a pleasure to have you on today. And Deb, I love you so dearly, my dear sister, and just enjoyed this time with you today as well. You're beautiful. Thank you. And we're going to sign off the Facebook, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Okay.
Same time, same station. Bye, everybody.
Bye.